Stuart, can you run us through what happened last Saturday in terms of yourself?
In terms of myself, listen, we'll speak about players ensuring that they show discipline and all the rest of it. So you obviously get annoyed at yourself with losing the head, basically, for wanting a better phrase. But I think everybody will probably understand that this means a hell of a lot to me. Games of football, winning games of football. I'm not asking for favouritism. I keep saying this, you're not asking for favouritism in decisions, you're just asking for what you believe is the right outcome. So not to vindicate myself or give myself a pass, but pure frustration. And I think if you look at the incident again that I end up getting sent off for because of your reaction, it was another offside that was flagged immediately, which we've had a look at again, and we don't believe it's offside, and that had happened a number of times in the game. And that's not to mention the contentious issues in the game, the big decisions in the game. So as I say, I don't give myself a pass for it, but people need to understand that you're working a hell of a hard, you're putting in a lot of hours, the players are spending a lot of time to try and get results and to try and get decent outcomes, and I feel all you're asking for is what you believe is the correct outcome. I'm not asking for a favour, I keep saying that. I'm not asking for a decision that goes our way and we look at it and go, we got away with one there. I'm just asking for what I believe is the correct outcome in the game, and it really mounted up on Saturday, I have to say.
It might surprise people then if you talk about the offside. We always think that the linesmen keep their flag down, but you think they were flagging for offside?
Yeah, I then go and have a look at it in the monitor, and that's topped up on 2-3, including the one that's 2.8 metres in our own half for Bruce Anderson, which is flagged for offside. So there is a frustration. I mentioned it to the referee at half time that we felt there was a couple. What actually leads to the Rangers' first goal is an offside that's given. I had a conversation and a bit of clarity on that. It was Bruce Anderson actually still has the ball inside the penalty box and turns onto the opposing player. Now, I'd asked Willie about this one previously because of an incident at Celtic Park, and he said generally if the ball clears the penalty box then the linesman will put up the flag. Well, that wasn't the case. Bruce is faced up. We've looked at that one. He might just be offside, but I'll tell you what, it's close. I think he'll be drawing lines on it. So you'll understand that we want to see that phase of play finish, because I don't think there's certainly no daylight between the players. So again, we come back to the inconsistencies, and you asked me the very first question, talk me through what happened. It's when you start to add up 4, 5, 6 different things in a game of football, then I'm a human being at the end of the day as well. I have in the past as a player and the coach, the manager, been fiery and somebody that's seen plenty of red cards, and I don't say that and wear it like a badge, but I work hell of a hard, the same as everybody else here at the football club, to try and see if you can get an outcome in a game of football. And as I say, that's not a show for me. That's a bit where sometimes it consumes you, because you want the best for the club and you want the best for the players when they're ploughing in and putting in so much to a game of football.
Been able to put that to the side now and concentrate on Aberdeen this weekend? Yeah,
without a doubt. At the beginning of the week, I do. Obviously, you're still angry, you're still frustrated. And you're annoyed the 24, 48 hours after it, but as soon as the game finishes, you start to analyse yourself, you start to analyse your team, and you start to look at the next game of football. A wee bit different sometimes when Aberdeen play in Europe, because you've still got another game to watch, obviously in preparation, but we've done that last night. Thought in large parts Aberdeen done pretty well against a really good side, so we'd already built a picture, but obviously last night gives us a little indication of, I think they make one change to their team and then they make several changes in game, so it gives you a wee bit of an insight to how they're playing, what they're doing, and what you might expect on Sunday.
How can you use that frustration that you're talking about from that game in a positive way, and maybe use it as a sense of like the world's against us, nothing's going our way, and collectively galvanise everyone?
I think we all do that at times, don't we? And I think you always try and use that siege mentality when there's a lot of noise, when there's a lot of criticism, when there's things you feel have went against you, and several things you feel have went against you. We've spoken about injuries here, we've spoken about sometimes not having anywhere near your strongest squad at any point this season to pick from. I think you have to try and use all of those things to try and use that bit of a siege mentality. Nobody's going to give us a favour. Nobody's going to pat us in the back when we're not winning games. Nobody's going to give us huge praise at that point. So what you have to do is you need to kind of circle the wagon, so to speak, and you have to make sure that the strength and the and the change comes from within, because it's not going to come from out with your football club. And it's fair to say, Martin, that that's something that we're trying to do. That's something that we want to do. And as I say, I think when you come out the other side, that you take immense pride as a group of players that it's you that's done that. It's you that's been able to turn it, and it's not been, we've not had any ridiculous decisions going in our favour. We've certainly had a few going against us, but it's one of those ones that you just stock it all up, you store it all up, and you try and get a result at the end of it.
To fans at any club look at a run like the one you're on and get frustrated and angry, to those that are losing a bit of faith right now, what would you say to them? What are you seeing that you think this will turn and it's coming?
Again, you get asked that question when you're on the run every single week. Same question every single week. You come and sit in front of you guys. Very simply, I'm always a believer in being able to see what you're looking for at stages. Sometimes that's through the week. Sometimes that's been in the past. Sometimes that's in flashes in games of football. If you look at the two brilliant opportunities that we have before Rangers score in the game on Saturday. Bruce Anderson through in goal, 1v1. Marcus Dacker's back post area, great cross. He's in a favourable position to score. I'm asking people to show a fair reflection on it, of course, but again, I can't influence what anybody thinks or what anybody says. All I can influence is that I see players achieving good standards in training. I've seen them achieve really good standards in games. I've seen them getting clean sheets. I've seen them winning games of football. So my job is to try and see if we can rekindle that and try and find that again. And I've said it week after week, and I'm not trying to appease anybody or trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. It's when you have seen it, you know you can get to that level. When you've not, then you know you've got a problem. So that's the bit that I remain very positive about.
Confidence is quite a fickle thing in football. Do you feel like you still see that confidence and the belief in your players that they can get out of this?
I do, of course I do. I wouldn't be sat here in front of you if I didn't think that. I would be honest enough to say that wouldn't be the case, but I absolutely do. I feel that certain players that have shown really good levels, I think us as a collective that have shown good levels. We had plenty of plaudits for the first chunk of the season. The second part of the season to date obviously hasn't been good enough, but it's one of those ones where if you probably mix all of them up and jumble them up, those performances and results, I'm not saying you would be absolutely where you want to be, but I think there would be a little bit more understanding in it. But yeah, I think from the players' point of view, we know that we've got guys that have confidence. We know that there's guys, one or two, that have maybe come off the levels that they've shown. So again, your job always as a manager is to get the best out of each individual, get the best out of each unit, and that always culminates towards getting performances and getting results. And at this minute in time, I think what we have to do and what we have to understand is that even when we're having good spells in games of football, that first attack for the opposition, I'll give you a couple of examples. I didn't feel Rangers had threatened us really at all. Then they get a goal. We give up possession really cheaply. They score. That starts to change the mood in the stadium. That starts to change the mood round about the place. And then even in the second half, the first 10 minutes of the second half against Rangers, they hadn't really got into our half. They hadn't certainly got into our box. And then one attack, one counter-attack, one turnover of the ball for a promising attack from us. Again, that changes the feeling. That changes the nature of the atmosphere and the thought process, and what we're deeming as a game of football. That you lose 3-0 and most will say that's a routine victory for Rangers, and I didn't see it like that personally, but it's hard for me to stake a claim when you've lost the game 3-0. So again, it's small turning points, at small moments in games of football where I feel we're hurting ourselves and we can help ourselves an awful lot better. And as I say, I'll go back to it, I think we have done that, so we have to get back to it as quick as we possibly can.
And given some of those contentious decisions at the weekend there, how hopeful are you that 5 PM on Sunday you're not talking about VAR or refereeing decisions, it's just the football?
I think we all hope that every single week. I acknowledge that there are human beings. I acknowledge that human beings make mistakes. We all do. Made plenty myself. players are making mistakes across the country. That's often what happens in terms of leading to a goal. But I think I'll go back and I'll be really categoric about this. It's the consistency. You know, I watched a thing. You know, I've had really good communication with Willie to date, and I think he's doing a lot to try and improve things, but I think we'll all acknowledge that we're not seeing the fruits of that work at times at the weekends. I go back to the incident with Jack Butland at the weekend for talking's sake, and I've heard wee bits that are coming back saying that people don't think that that's a red card, and you know that the decision was correct and various different things. I look back to an incident with one of our own players for last season, Brad Lyons, Aberdeen. Some of you guys might remember it. He gets sent off against Aberdeen at Pittodrie. It is a carbon copy of the same tackle. The guys look at it. I think Matthew McDermott's the referee, gives a yellow card, sent to the monitor, and then it becomes a red card. Command it down to 10 men. The VAR review show after it, I've watched that as well, and every single point within that, honestly, I can't find you a more compatible challenge in a game of football, and we used it because it was one of our players in our thought process. And I listened to Willie after it. He says it's absolutely the correct decision because of the speed, the force, endangering the opponent, coming off the ground, etc, etc, etc. You know, he's not leading with the boot, but the sole of his foot. Brad's not, so that's the one thing that's or another thing in the challenges that's very similar or exactly the same. So my question mark is, how can that be? And now we're saying that one's not. And talk about big moments in games of football, 15 minutes plus injury time to go in a game of football. Rangers have made all their changes. An outfield player has to go in goals. That changes a game of football. You know, the pull on Davy Watson, getting into the box. These are massive moments in games of football that I don't think are difficult if you look at it again and you get 3-4 looks at it and you get the opportunity to send the match official across to a screen. So as I say, I'm not looking for any favours. I just want consistency, and I'm trying not to sit here and make excuses. I'm trying to give you a comparison of something that we've seen recently, and then the outcome of that, the view on that from the guys at the top of the tree that are making these calls, and they agree that's the right decision. But for some reason we don't think that one at the weekends is a red card, and I personally do, and I think it's a big stage in a game.
Have you sought clarity about those decisions at the weekend from Willie this week?
No, what we've done is we've been pretty good with it. Well, we've been really good with that communication back and forward, because again, I always talk about trying to educate myself. If I'm shouting my mouth off about something and I'm losing the rag outside the pitch and I'm wrong, I'll be the first guy to stick my hands up and say I'm out of order. But what we've done with an analysis team here is we've packaged together some clips, we've sent that in, and I've not had that face to face. I've had a couple of Zoom calls, I've had a couple of phone calls, exchanged some messages in the past, but again, I'm not saying that the guys are in the wrong. It's just that we've sent that across, and we kind of want to say, as much as the officials are doing their analysis, we're obviously looking at it as well, but we're doing it in line with the laws and the rules of the game, and the guidance that we've been given. Not just because I'm sitting here and saying that I feel sorry for myself because we've not been winning games and I feel that these decisions were wrong, but I'm trying to compare them to things that we've been given clarity on. So we've done that. I think there's a meeting next week with the managers and the officials, which they're trying to do once or twice a year. So I don't know if any of these incidents come up in that particular meeting.
That could be a long meeting, couldn't it?
Well, I think there's going to be a lot of people sitting in the same position that I am. You know, I'm focusing and talking to you guys about us and our situation, but I think there's plenty of other teams out there that would come forward with a number of clips as well.
In terms of your squad, anybody in, out from the weekend?
I think we're much the same. Davy Watson's obviously suspended for the weekend, and we're kind of sitting waiting on a couple. We've got one illness at the minute, and we've got the likes of Jack Thompson who missed out, Marley Watkins who's missed out the last couple, so we're assessing them and seeing whether they'll make the squad on Sunday.